Good morning, and welcome to our Mandala Universes, where we gather every single day for, oh my gosh, almost 6 years. Next, in 2 months, it'll be 6 years. Every day, we have not missed one day. My name's Pamela, and I'm glad you're here. And Miss Emma saying hello with a question mark. Can you hear me okay? I don't know what the question mark means. I hope you can hear me. If not, I'll go out and start again. Anyway, we draw mandalas, if you can hear me. And, oops, you don't need that. There are some examples of some mandalas that I've created in the past. They're kind of just a snapshot in time of how we are feeling that day. Miss M says, hello with a question mark, and then she goes, means that I was on, but then I'm not, but now I am. I am glad you got that figured out, and I'm glad you're on and you're here. And good morning, Amy. Amy says, yes, good morning, we can hear you. Oh, good. I am glad. It is a beautiful sunny day here in Southern California. We are having the opposite of most of that winter storm that people are having. It's going to be 70 degrees today, and it's blue skies already. So we're not having winter, which feels weird that everyone is having all this bitter cold, and I'm out in a t-shirt taking a walk and getting warm. As you can probably tell, I got a little bit of a cold. A very kind passenger on the an Arctic cruise shared that with quite a few people. But I am recovering and feeling energetic today, which is a good thing. Elaine is here. Good morning, Elaine. So it's good to be back. It's good to be in my art space. It's good to feel like I'm kind of getting a clean slate start, being gone that long. And that feels good too. Like I get to choose how I want to spend my minutes. And I'm very lucky that I get to choose, because I know in previous phases of my life, there was no choice. There was responsibilities and tasks. And I know some of you are in that phase of life. Michelina's here. Good morning, Michelina. She goes, hey, Pamela. And Miss M says, hi, friends. Stay warm. Yes. Yes, Michelina. Intentional re-entry. I am doing a lot of journaling and thinking about that. Just having some, aha awarenesses of pace and what's really important for this time right now, this season that I'm in. And it can be the winter season. It can be all kinds of things, It can be the retired season. It could be that I'm 67, going to turn 68 next month season. I don't know. It could be anything, right? Hi, Carol. How are you? I never got back to you. I apologize. I got busy. I had a glorious weekend with spending time with Amy and Marshall, and that filled my soul in ways that was just really special. Being around you guys on this platform and in person is like the best gift for me. It just touches me in a way that really fills me up. I just, sometimes want to pinch myself of going, how did I fall into this? And thank you, universe, for introducing me to you all. Carol says hi. Hi, Carol. Cindy says hi. Hi, Cindy. And Kathy's here. Good morning, Kathy. You might have sunshine too. Carol says, no worries. So glad you enjoyed your trip and time with Amy and Marshall. Yes. Yeah. And Carol says, hi, Cindy. Yeah, the trip was phenomenal. Best vacation I've ever had. Don't know how I'm going to top that. The immersion into nature, and nature that was so pristine, not trampled by humans very much. I mean, you could tell there were humans there. But so much of it was not touched by humans. And the buildings that were there were, I think there was one 2-story building, all made of wood. They were all shacks kind of size. They were small. And those people living in them lived very close to the land. So the respect for the land, and you could feel that energetically, was so, so high. It was the people who go there to stay are studying. They're scientists. They're not there to live the high life. They're there to be in connection with nature. And I think that sense and that energy is very, very different than anywhere else in the world that I've been to anyway. Even the African safari, where we were in the rural area, but it wasn't the same remoteness. And, we had all of our comforts because on the ship we had everything we needed. So I don't know. I think when I led from the ship, it was before I had the most phenomenal experience, and that was kayaking with whales. To be in the ocean at that level, and they were everywhere, and we not close. We were 100 meters at least away. But you'd hear like a blowhole, you'd hear the sound, and it was over here, and then it would be over here, and then they'd move, and then the seagulls would move, and the bubbles would happen, and then that's where the krill come to the bubbles, and then the whale's mouth would come up, and she'd eat the krill, and then they would do their beautiful synchronized swimming. No splashes. These are huge animals, and they are so graceful going into the ocean. It was like, wow. They're silent, except for when they're talking, of course, but the body movements. Anyway, it was phenomenal. I'm yakking on here. Oh, Susanna, you're here. Hi, Pamela. So glad I joined and is able to see you. It's good to see you. I wish I could see you. I look forward to seeing you. I know you and Michelina are trying to connect so you can lead, and I'm excited for that. Very excited. Michelina says, an awareness you can bring into your nature training. Yes. On February 17th, I start my California Naturalist training. And I started my homework already because I'm excited. And I like to be an A student, so I'm an overachiever in that. And yeah, it's going to bring me closer to nature. In fact, one of our assignments is to have a journal, and I thought, oh, what a great way to just go out in my backyard and start noticing and drawing the plants that I see. So that's pretty darn cool. Like, I can start doing that because that's not related to the class. That's this ecosystem. Anyway, how are you all checking in today? I'm just talking. Sometimes I'm super quiet, but I'm very verbal today. My check-in, I wrote it already. And it fits because I'm motivated. I've already written the date, my name, because I write down who led. And I am motivated today. I am motivated to fulfill my time with things that fulfill me. Self-focused and motivation on that. Kathy says, so cool, Pamela. It was, Kathy. It so was. Carol says, I love hearing your stories, Pamela. I keep sharing. Okay, thank you. I will. So the penguins, 3 different species. They're hilarious. On land, they don't look like they were designed right. Like evolution failed them. But in water, and I wish we could have gone snorkeling, they're like, that's what they're designed for. So we saw them in the area where they're not typically designed, and that's where they have their babies. Otherwise, they're spending more time in water. So that was an interesting aha. Michelina says, checking in amazed. I scratched my eyeball on a bamboo leaf, and it is healed overnight. Wow. You have a very healthy immune system. Carol says, Kathy, if you were with Pamela, for sure you would have experienced more polar bears. Well, there aren't polar bears in Antarctica, so she would not have. But Carol or Kathy, we can go to Arctic Circle. That's where they live. There's penguins There's seals, and there's whales and other fish too. But no polar bears, no fox. Arctic foxes and polar bears are up north. I know. I learned so much. I was on the science boat, and we collected stuff in the water, and then I took that and I made a slide, and I found an unusual phytoplankton that I took a picture of. I started geeking out in biology class. I remember this from college. Elaine is checking in, organized enough to work on an old project calling my name. Oh, that's nice. And Nicolina says, nice, Elaine. Susanna says, I'm checking in to show up. This year, I am showing up in energy, giving spaces more. I love that. And Carol says, my nature ignorance, but you knew what I meant. It's, you know what? I think you're not alone. I think a lot of people. I learned so much, Carol, so much. Amy is checking in, very grateful. Okay, let's do a quick grounding, and I have a reading so that we have time to draw. Find your shape. Wiggle wherever it needs to be wiggled. Listen to your body. Even ask it, body, what needs to wiggle? And maybe it says nothing. Or maybe it says my shoulders. Mine says my shoulders. My neck is tight right there. Yeah. Wiggle what needs to be wiggled. Maybe even your hands, just Sometimes voice goes with that, and voice actually helps release fascia. So, ooh, I got tingly. And then begin to settle down. Closing down your eyes if that's comfortable. Looking away from what's in front of you. Just gazing or going inward. Noticing any body sensations. If you shook your arms, you might notice tingling. Where do you notice that? And then take one slow inhale. Pausing. Then a slow exhale. Pausing. And doing that 2 more times in your own rhythm. Slow inhale. Pause. Exhale. And pause. And continuing with that, or going to your natural rhythm of breathing, I'll read to you. Your mind is like the sea. When the wind comes, there are very big waves. When the wind dies down, the waves become smaller and smaller, until finally the wind disappears altogether, and the sea is like a clear mirror. Then the mountains and trees and all things are reflected on the surface of the sea. There are many thought waves now in your mind. But if you continue to practice don't know mind, this thinking will become gradually smaller until finally your mind will always be clear. When the mind becomes clear, it is like a mirror. Red comes and the mirror is red. Yellow comes and the mirror is yellow. A mountain comes and the mirror is a mountain. Your mind is the mountain. The mountain is your mind. They are not two. So it is very important not to be attached to either, to thinking or to not thinking. You mustn't be upset by anything that goes on in your mind. Only don't worry and keep don't know mind. From the Zen master Shunsan in Dropping Ashes on the Buddha. I'll read it again, but for those of you who want to start drawing, please do. Your mind is like the sea. When the wind comes, there are very big waves. When the wind dies down, the waves become smaller and smaller, until finally the wind disappears altogether, and the sea is like a clear mirror. Then the mountains and the trees and all things are reflected on the surface of the sea. There are many thought waves now in your mind, but if you continue to practice don't know mind, this thinking will become gradually smaller, until finally your mind will always be clear. When the mind becomes clear, it is like a mirror. Red comes and the mirror is red. Yellow comes and the mirror is yellow. A mountain comes and the mirror is a mountain. Your mind is the mountain is your mind. They are not two. So it is important not to be attached either to thinking or to not thinking. You mustn't be upset by anything that goes on in your mind. Only don't worry and keep don't know mind. This is from a book called 365 Zen. And I just opened to this page and I liked it. And I'll put that on Instagram. If you haven't started drawing, we do our circle with the in-breath, a start, and an out-breath to close it. And then we fill it with whatever we want. Anything. And sometimes, like today, I did the circle like 3 times. Not intentionally, it just happened that way. So as is the case when Mandala sisters gather in person, they go to art stores. Amy and I made that trek as well. I found out there is a Blick art materials store about 25 minutes away from my house. Did not even know that was there. So we checked it out. And then we went to my favorite art store called Art Supply Warehouse, which is still my favorite. So it was good to check it out and find out. And I found this ceramic tin of this gold. And it's very interesting because when I put my paintbrush clean with water on it, you can see that mark. It turns kind of dark. And then it's not glittery. It's not bright, shiny. And I was rather disappointed, I'll be honest. But I'm playing with it and I'm kind of liking it. It's a different kind of gold. Maybe has a little touch of bronze in it. The color was called reddish gold. So anyway, it's my new like toy to play with. And I said I wasn't going to buy more art supplies, and yet there I am. This is something where it's like a kid, right? Can a kid have too many toys? They always want another toy. I think that's how I am with this, with art stuff now. And I look back. So January 4th, 2021 is when I first met you all. So it's been 5 years. And I look back at what my path of playing in art then and now, and wow, like you have all opened a whole world for me that I thoroughly enjoy, that I didn't know about. So I like that gold paint, walking in an art store and actually knowing what some things are. The first time I walked into that store, I was with a friend, thank goodness, because I didn't know what anything was. And then I went by myself and started just learning. Okay, you want another Antarctica story? I may not draw. I think I'll just put the paintbrush down and I'll just chat while you guys draw. So we were brought into 4 groups. There was 162 people on our boat, which was great because they have a rule, only 100 people on a landing at a time. So everybody could do a landing because we did a morning and an afternoon. And when you weren't doing a landing, you were in a Zodiac, which is a raft that held about 12 people, although they tried to keep it 8 to 10. And so we were the blue group. And so you would get the night before what we were going to do because they had to look at the weather and that changed things. So depending on the weather, they could or couldn't go to certain places. We were so fortunate. We got to go to everywhere we wanted, plus extra. So the Drake Passage was very calm on the way down, and we got an extra island to visit, Half Moon Island. Anyway, so you get called, and you know your time. So you put your base layer on, which is like your long johns. Then you put your middle layer, which is like a fleece. Then you have this parka that has another layer in it. And then you have your gloves. I had my binoculars. I had a lanyard that I connected to my binoculars to hold my phone. So if something happened and my phone fell off my hands, it wouldn't hit the ground or I wouldn't lose it. So I had to make sure I had that all coordinated. I had to get my sunscreen on. I had to get my balaclava on. I had to get my hat. I had to get my life jacket because you had to have your life jacket on when you left. The first time I put all this on, I felt like that little boy in Christmas Story who's standing out like this going, I can't walk. And then we got pretty skillful at it. And it could take maybe 3 minutes to put all that stuff together. So that was a fun, just all that clothing that you put on. But I'll tell you, I was never cold. In fact, I had to adjust because when we went snowshoeing, I didn't wear the middle layer because I knew I'd be physically active and I wasn't cold. So there were times when I adjusted. And then kayaking, you have a one-piece bodysuit. So you come down just in your base layer. So you're all walking around in your long johns. And you put your feet in, which has booties. Then you put it up to your waist. Then you put your head in because it's got this thing that's around your neck, so it's waterproof. And then you have to turn your rings because you put your arms in and it's got this waterproof thing. And then you put your hands like this and they zip you in the back. So now you're in this thing. You cannot get out. And then you put booties on. And then they have these things called pogies. When you get the oars, you put your hands in those. I didn't like them. I just used my waterproof gloves. But that was what the gear that you put on to go kayaking. So lots of costumes to do all this, but also for safety and warmth. Kathy says, checking in, torn between too many things. Yeah, busyness, huh? What's going on? That's where I'm trying to stay away from, Kathy, is the busyness. That's kind of my goal right now, to intentionally, I love the way Michelina said that, intentional reentry. And I think this cold has helped because when we got home, I spent a lot of time reading. And gosh, dang, I love that. And that's not laziness. That's really active, And there's so many good books out there. So many good books. So penguins, we saw eggs, we saw baby chicks, we saw medium-sized chicks, and then we saw them where they were 2/3 the size of their parents. So learned that mom does not do the mother duties. Both mom and dad do. So one will go hunt while the other one stays with the chicks, and then they'll come back and then they'll switch off. And then whoever's there feeds them by regurgitating, which I think you probably all knew that because that's how most birds do that. But the bigger ones, they're big, so they need a lot of food. Many times we saw them chasing their mom, and their mom's like, get away from me, because they want more food. And then they'll stop and they'll feed them, and then they chase them again. And it was hilarious to watch all this chasing going around. And then the little ones were just so cute, peeking out from underneath their parents' pouch kind of a thing. But the penguins are funny. The gentoos are mountain climbers. They like to go up high. And so up high is where the snow melts first. And so that's where they nest. And so we were just seeing all of the breeding season is what we were seeing because it's summertime down there. In the winter, they're in the water more than they're on the land. Although we saw this huge iceberg and there were 2 penguins on top of it. We're like, what are you guys doing up there? I don't even know if they know what they're doing up there. But they like to get up high for some reason. And then when they want to go in the water, they always go one first, the other one watches, and then they follow. So I don't know if that's a safety thing. Did you have your head on a rock? Or I don't know. But I always watch that one would go first, the other would be like, okay, it's okay. And I saw a line of them, and the one went, and then boom, 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 all the way down the line. They were very fun to watch. I don't think I could get tired of watching them. And then fun to watch them swim in the water because they kind of like dolphins. They do a little bit of the jumping, not completely. I didn't see a whale breach. One, I heard some people say they did, but I was on the other side of the boat. They had a swimming pool. I did go in the pool. I went in the hot tub. That was outdoors, which was totally comfortable. It's like I'm in 34-degree weather, and it didn't feel like it, which was an interesting. It didn't feel like it. I mean, if I went out there and just what I have on right now, I would get cold, but I didn't do that. So maybe that's why I didn't notice because I had the right gear. But coming home, I took the lining out of my parka, and that is a nice puff jacket. So I'm very excited that I have a new puff jacket to wear around. And then I found out that the city that we left for our cruise is called Ushuaia in Argentina, and it is the southernmost city in the world. And I did not know that. So that was kind of a cool, a town that explodes during this season when all the tourists are going to Antarctica, and then it's probably very small. So does anyone have anything coming out of their mandala that they would share? Any words? I know we got a later start. I think I'll also, because I'm starting to feel better, do a little more posts of my pictures. I just wasn't really feeling well, so I didn't do a lot of that. I also we decided to do a top 10. I think Amy gave me this idea, and it was a really nice way to chronologize, or just, no, that's not the right word, to just kind of get like tidbits of memories, right? Without having to like write journal and all that kind of stuff. Like on Tuesday, January 13th, we zigzagged, or I called it traversing up the hill on snowshoes. And at the top of the hill, we saw ocean on either side. It was an amazing view. We saw an adolescent penguin. Scott kept saying the colors, the sky, the ice, the ocean, the snow, the colors of that, the vibrancy was just, it just kept taking our breath away. And I'll start posting some of those pictures. They have a penguin post office in Antarctica. We were getting ready to go kayaking, so we couldn't buy a postcard and send it from Antarctica. It actually goes to the UK, and then from there it'll come to us. And it's a UK based something, and it's a nonprofit organization. And I did buy to donate. I bought this beautiful little watercolor from them. And there's the penguins. Those are Gen 2 penguins because they have the orange on their beak. And this was in Port Lockroy. Anyway, those were kind of some of the things that we, I learned that red algae melts the snow, and that's not good. So there's green algae and red algae. I didn't even know that. And then how can you tell you are taking a really good photo? Because they're all good. Seriously, you just pick up the camera. I just did my iPhone, click, and it's like, oh my God, that was gorgeous. It was, yeah. Okay, I'm going to read now. What happened? Things moved. This is interesting. My heart is still beating outside my chest. Carol's checking in content. I'd read Kathy's. Michelina, waves of the mind rise and settle. Carol says, sharing wonder based on listening to your stories. Amy says, what a beautiful print to bring joy. I know. I thought this is my souvenir, right? Plus I got a hat, a cap. I call them ball caps. Scott says that's funny. That's not the right word, but I think that's what they are. They're caps you wear when you play baseball. That's what I call them. He laughs at me when I say that. And since he was a baseball player, he probably knows the right word. Well, friends, golly, I just talked the whole time, but I didn't cough very much. This is a very good sign. It was lovely to be with you. I hope that you find moments of immense joy today, and that you find moments of peace and stillness. Nicolina says, I love hearing your stories. Oh, thank you. Miss M says, penguins are your 2026 spirit animal. Yes. Kathy says, thank you, Pamela. I love hearing your stories. Miss M says, thank you. Hugs. I love you guys. And I'll see you in the ethers tomorrow. And Amy says, I call them baseball hats too. Bye, guys.